Hello and welcome to the Shark Source podcast. I'm your host, Danny Parsons, and today I'm joined by Shaden Shergill, and we have a lot to cover today. I hope you guys had a great Christmas and are enjoying the holidays. It is the 27th of December. The league is just coming back from break. We got 13 NHL games. So today we're going to cover every single NHL team and talk about where they stand after the break. We're almost at the halfway point of the year, and what they need to do to make the playoffs or what they need to do to remain in playoff position. And we'll also talk about the World Juniors and a few other announcements. So we're going to start with the Eastern Conference and go based on points. So we have Tampa Bay, 37 games played, 28 wins, 7 losses, 2 overtime losses, 58 points, and in their last 10, they're 9-0-1. So, Shaden, what are some thoughts about Tampa Bay?
Well, of course they're going to be great because, they're stacked, everywhere. Forward core is just amazing. Defense is amazing. Even goaltending, without Vasilevsky, he's still, Dominguez still held the crease pretty low. I think he only lost one game or two. But the thing about Tampa is that, people are going to put them as maybe they're Stanley Cup champions or the runners-up. The reason why I don't see that is because I just think they're going to choke again because they're a great team in the regular season. Every single game that they play, right? It's always a tight game, or they're always blowing their opponents out. But 9-0 and not losing regular is something. But at the end of last year, they killed it off. So I'm not saying it's gonna happen this year, but it's another strong start for Tampa. But I don't know what to make of it so far.
Yeah, I do have them as my Stanley Cup winner so far. I had that at the beginning of the year, and I still have that. But you are right. It does remind me a lot of the Capitals before they finally won a cup last season. They just can't get it done in the late rounds of the playoffs. They're sort of, rather than second round chokers, they're more third round chokers. But, it's going to be interesting to see how they do. I'm really, like you said, I thought Domingue was very impressive. He kept them in it, and Vasilevsky comes back, and he's just like his old self. In his first game, I think he had 50 saves or something. So I still think they're the team to beat, but yeah, they do have a concerning past. So we're going to go to the next highest team in the Eastern Conference, the Toronto Maple Leafs. 25 wins, 10 losses, 2 overtime losses, 52 points. Last 10, 6-2-2. What are your thoughts about that?
I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, and I know I will. I think Toronto is one of the most overrated teams in this league. The reason why, because they added arguably a top 5 center in the league, and John Tavares. You guys probably have the best forward core, right? I'm still concerned about the defense. Riley, sure, he's been amazing, awesome, but Ron Hainsey is your guy, Kara Morgan Riley. You have Jake Gardner, which a lot of Leafs fans hate. I don't trust that defense. This team is probably good enough to pass the first round maybe this year, but with that defense in Anderson, I like him. He's a great goalie in regular season, but it seems like in the playoffs he turns into a Bobrovsky type where he can't get it done. I don't trust that. This four card can score 6 goals a game. That defense can probably allow 6 goals a game. That's the thing I'm worried about for Toronto. If I'm Kyle Dubas, I would go for defenseman. And look, Nylander has done nothing. He has what, 2 points so far, 9-10 games. He had an opportunity to trade Nylander for a nice top 4 defenseman, and Carolina was willing to give out a guy like Pesci, but they passed on an opportunity. Now they're going to pay Nylander this much money. He's not even putting up production.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you about Toronto, actually. I also think they are one of... I don't think it's fair to say they're overrated because currently they do have the second most points in the NHL. So and they are being treated like it. However, I think they're going to have some real struggles in the playoffs. Last season, they arguably had a much better, deeper offense than Boston. Boston had that one great line, but Toronto had a better and deeper offense. Look what happened. Without defense, Toronto, even though they took it to 7, the games they won were pretty close. Boston blew them out in a lot of their games. And in Game 7, Anderson, who was overworked, choked. And I think the same thing is going to happen these playoffs. Anderson, they can't rely on Sparks. It's been proven. I mean, he gives up 4 or 5 goals when they're playing a team like Detroit. I don't think Sparks is a good backup. I think they should have kept McElhinney, and they're playing Anderson too often, and I think that's going to continue throughout the season. I think that's going to cause some major problems for that team. So yes, while Tavares has made them better, I do think there's concern. And also I agree with you about Nylander. While I think they got him at a pretty good deal considering what other players like Draisaitl and such are making, he has had a concerning slow start. So that's Toronto. We are now going to move to the next highest in the league, in the Eastern Conference, and we have a tie, so we're going to go to the team with the fewer games played. We're talking about Washington. 22 wins, 10 losses, 3 overtime losses, 47 points, 7-3-0 in their last 10. So, Shaden, what are your thoughts on the Capitals?
They've impressed me so far. I didn't have them, make it as far in the playoffs like last year, but what I'm going to say is right now is that Ovechkin is just playing amazing so far. He's on pace for 70 goals, and the Caps just keep on clicking and clicking. Right now they're playing like they did in the playoffs, but I just don't see them making it for making it to the finals game. But Washington, has always been good in the regular season. Last 3 years they have 2 Presidents trophies. There's nothing much to say about here. You're a Stanley Cup champion. You're going to be getting a regular season, so I don't really have much to say here for Washington.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you about Ovechkin. He is on fire. He's on pace for 103 points right now. He has 44 points. But goals, he's got 29 goals in 35 games played. So over 82 games, he's on pace for 67.9 goals, which would just be amazing. All he'd have to do is score 2 more, and he'd have 69, which would be really nice. And I just think that he really is just really proving all his doubters wrong, just like he did last time. I think the Capitals are the best team in their division. I do think Columbus maybe is up and coming. It could cause them concern. We'll talk about them shortly. But I think the Capitals are doing really good, and it's going to be exciting to see them back in the playoffs. Next, we're going to talk about a team tied with the Capitals but has 2 more games played than the Capitals. And I don't think there's any question that this team is the biggest surprise of 2018-19. It's the Buffalo Sabres. 37 games played, 21 wins, 11 losses, 5 overtime losses, 47 points. But in their last 10, they're 4-4-2. So not too good lately, but Buffalo has had a really impressive season. Shaden, what are your thoughts?
Well, they did have a 10-game winning streak going, so they are starting to slow down. But Buffalo this year reminds me of Edmonton 2 years ago. A young team, that's up and coming that wasn't expected to do anything this season, and suddenly rising to the top. And one of the main reasons for that is the additions of Rasmus Dahlin, adding Jeff Skinner, which was an amazing deal for Buffalo. And I think another main reason why they're doing so well is because of Carter Hutton. I think Jason Barrow did a great job this offseason adding to Buffalo on the forward core, and in the backhand, it's really making them a way better team. This, I don't expect a third round appearance for Buffalo, but I think that Buffalo could go as far as Edmonton, make into the second round and maybe even be close to the conference finals. But to me, Edmonton and Buffalo are the same. They've always been comparable to each other. They've always been the bottom of the league. You have two franchise centers, two young players that are captaining their teams, right? So I can see Buffalo doing damage, like maybe a bit of damage in the playoffs, and who knows, if you add another big piece, that could maybe push them to a third round appearance.
Yeah, here's my concerns about Buffalo. I would say that, yeah, Hutton has been a huge part of their success, and I think that's what was missing. Eichel is having a breakout year, so is Skinner. But one problem is they play in the Atlantic Division, and that means chances are they're going to play Toronto in round one, maybe even Tampa Bay, though I think Tampa's going to win that division. So I think if they get out of round one, that would be very impressive, because it's just going to be a really tough series versus Toronto, though Toronto's lack of defense will probably come to bite them in the playoffs, so they do have a chance of getting past, but the Atlantic Division is just going to be really tough to get out of. But yeah, Buffalo, they could make a deep playoff run, but I think at this point their fans are just going to be happy to see such big improvement from last year. And, unlike Edmonton, I think they're going to continue to make the playoffs because they don't have Chiarelli. So I think they'll actually have a chance to continue their success rather than Edmonton having just a roller coaster, a great season and then a terrible season. So we'll see about them. The next team we're talking about is second in the Metro, 36 games played, 21 wins, 12 losses, 3 overtime losses, 45 points. It's Columbus, and in their last 10, they're 6-3-1. Now, Columbus, a lot of people had them pretty much where they are. I think I have them finishing second. So I wouldn't say it's a surprise at all, but I would say, that it's interesting that they've been able to do this while having the Panarin and Bobrovsky situation hanging over their heads. Both of them becoming unrestricted free agent. I think Bobrovsky is. I know Panarin is becoming an unrestricted free agent. So, Shaden, what are your thoughts on the Blue Jackets?
Well, one thing for sure, I'm just going to say this right now. I forgot who said this, but I'm pretty sure it was like a couple weeks ago that Panarin, his agent, and Jarmo Kekalainen were going to meet again in the New Year's discussing contract. So I now 50-50 if Panarin's becoming a free agent. I know for a fact Bobrovsky will become a free agent because it's probably out there. But, Columbus, this has to be the year where you have to just get on playoff because, you can't just keep choking the first round because you had Washington Pirates throw last year. Two games and none. Sure, you wanted overtime, but you still had them by the throat, and guess what? You blew it. Columbus can't choke like that. Columbus needs to, keep playing well because if it just looks like that after they won the first 2 games, it looks like they just started dropping off because they thought that this would be an easy series win, but guess what? It wasn't. Columbus, their forecourt is amazing. Dubois has been a huge surprise for me, like last year, the way he broke out. Atkinson's been playing amazing. All those guys. Their defense has been top notch. I think I saw a tweet a couple of days ago where it says all 6 plus defensemen have more than 10 points, and that's the only team in the NHL to do so. Bobrovsky just has to play well in the playoffs. You can't keep choking. You have to make out the first round. Because it's pretty embarrassing, one thing, to not win a playoff series in your history. And another thing is that a first year team made it to the Stanley Cup Finals with a team that wasn't expected to do anything.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you there about them having the Caps on the rope. I do think the time is now for them to win, especially if they can't get anything done with Bobrovsky or Panarin. I think Panarin, you gotta just give him what he wants, pay him. But even though he has been a little disappointing this season, he's got 39 points so far, which is good. But there are a lot of players who are above him that I would consider him better than. So maybe they could get him a bit lower for that. But yeah, they need to win now, and I think they can. Currently, they're going to play Pittsburgh if the season ended today. We'll talk about them, and I think that they can and should beat Pittsburgh this year. So we'll get to them in a second. But yeah, Columbus, I'm a bit worried about their depth. I don't know if they can have the depth to really get over the hump, but we will see. I also just sort of want to point out Cam Atkinson, who's been having a great year. He only has one fewer points than Panarin, so I just think he deserves some love for how well he's been playing. Okay, and the next team we're going to be talking about is Pittsburgh. 36 games played, 18 wins, 12 losses, 6 overtime losses, 42 points in their last 10, 7, 2, and 1. So what are your thoughts about the Penguins?
Well, at the start of the year, they were bad. They were bottom 3 in the league. They've raised up, which is good, but Matt Murray has looked terrible. And last year, regular season 2, he looked terrible. It just seems like Murray is a playoff goalie. In a playoffs, he can carry a team just like that. And it's the same thing with Toronto. That defense, that's just bad. Sure, 2016 they won the cup, but in 2017 that was solely on Matt Murray. If Matt Murray or on Martin Short didn't play as well in 2017, there's no way, in my opinion, the Pens even make it to the third round. They need to add something else to that defense because Latanga's growing older, Schultz is out for injury. There's nothing. There's no depth on that defense, and guys like Derek Brassard has disappointing this year. I don't know what Phil Kissel's stats are, but I think he's been kind of disappointing this year. I do think the Pens will start heating it up near the end of the season, but I just don't see this team making it to the third round again. I just see this team as a first, second round exit.
Yeah, here's something about Murray, that situation. Murray has a 900 save percentage so far, which is bad for him, especially since they gave up Fleury to keep him, by letting Vegas get Fleury. So I think that's a big problem for them. And luckily for them, Casey DeSmith has stepped in and currently has a 926 save percentage. Though recently it's been going down, that's good to do that well. So I think, if Murray chokes, now he's back from injury and they're sort of splitting, but DeSmith could take the starting job. You never know. But yeah, I don't think the Penguins are the same team as they used to be. Crosby is still doing well. Castle and Malkin and Gensler are still doing well, but I think on the back end is where they're the weakest. Letang is playing and putting up points, but I don't think Dumoulin or Mata are good enough to get it done. I think, excuse me, I keep coughing. I'm a bit under the weather, but I think Jack Johnson, I think that was not a good signing. 5 years, $15 million. So I think they're in trouble, and I don't think they're going to make it past the first round. But they've proven people like me wrong time and time again. And now we're going to talk about a team that, actually I should have talked about this team before the Penguins because they're in a wild card spot, but they do have more points than Pittsburgh, the Boston Bruins. 37 points, 20 wins, 13 losses, 4 overtime losses, 44 points in the last 10, 6, 4-0. So Bruins, some people would say that it's disappointing based on them getting over 100 points last season. So Shaden, what are your thoughts on Boston?
Well, Rask has been, I wouldn't say bad, but he's been okay. It seems like Flack has kind of took that starting role from Rask because you see Flack's stats line are amazing. All season, Bruins have been hampered with injuries. I think at one point, all of their top 6 defensemen, that started the season, are injured, and they're playing guys like Kevin Miller on the first pairing. So they have injury issues, so I think that they should probably add another defenseman just to make sure But guys like Bergeron got injured for 16 games. If their only scoring line is that first line and nothing else. Sure, DeBrusque has been pretty good. Krejci, you can make an argument about that, but after that, they have no one. I think that's when you try to go after guys like Rick Nash last year. It didn't work out, So I see this team as another first round exit because, sure, that first one can carry them, but for how long?
Yeah, I sort of agree with you. To talk about the goalies, Halak I was shocked when I saw this stat at how high it is. He currently, in 21 games played, has a .930 save percentage. I mean, that is outstanding. Compared to Rask, who has a .911 save percentage, that's a pretty good save percentage. But compared to Halak, I mean, it's day and night. Now, do I think he can keep it up? No, based on past. If he does, great, but I don't think he's going to keep up that insane save percentage he has right now. But if he keeps playing good, Rask will not be the starter for this team, which I don't think many people would have predicted going in. I do think they are sort of one-dimensional, and they've had injury problems. Bergeron, I think he's back now, but he is back now, but he was out for a while. McAvoy was injured for a long time. He came back, and now he's day-to-day again. Chara is now set to return, but McAvoy's out, and I think McAvoy's a much better defenseman and offensive defenseman. So I think they're sort of mediocre. I think the reason they did so well last year was just because the Panthers were hammered by injuries. The Sabres were bad. I don't think it's because they were a great team. I just think they took advantage of a weak division last year. I don't think it's going to be the same this year, and I don't think they'll get one of the top 3 spots. And I agree with you. I don't think they're going to make it past the first round. It's still possible that they miss the playoffs completely because we're still pretty early in the year. But that's Boston.
Actually, I'm pretty. I think next week we're halfway through the year.
Yeah, most of the
a week and a half.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I know most of the teams have between 36 and 39 games played. So once we get to 42, we'll be exactly halfway. 41 will be exactly halfway. So, yeah, it's coming up.
I know this is we're bringing this up now, but since we're just talking about games, I'm wondering if they're going to add an 86-game schedule because of Seattle.
Why would they do that? Why would that have to do with?
Because here's the way I look at it. Because I'm gonna use Edmonton here for example. Because Arizona, so Edmonton plays the Central Division teams 3 times per year, right?
Yeah.
So you're losing one game against Arizona, so that goes to 81 games, right? But with Seattle coming in, that's still a 4 to 5 game margin. So that'll be 85 to 86 games. Because also the Eastern Conference needs to play Seattle twice a year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be it, and the reason is because they did this when Vegas. I mean, it wasn't the same when Vegas came in. They changed it up a bit. I think they'll just reduce the number of games you play against division teams and add that to the other division in the conference. So it'll still be division is the most, but it'll the division will still be the most, but they'll still have 2 games against. You'll play every team at least twice. I think that's how they'll do it. But I'm going to get to at the end, if I remember, the division realignment, because I'm very upset at how they did it by moving Arizona to the Central. I think that was the worst move ever. But I'll talk about that in a bit at the end. But now we are going to move on to Montreal, who are very surprising to me anyway, in a playoff spot. They have 37 games played, 19 wins, 13 losses, 5 overtime losses, 43 points, and in the last 10 games, they are 7-3-0. So, Jaden, what are your thoughts on Montreal?
I think one of the main surprising things for me about Montreal is how is Max Stone playing this well?
Leads the team in points.
No one expected this from Max Stone. Like, no one. You know, Montreal, I'm going to be honest, I honestly don't see them keeping this up because you look at Price's stats, you know, he's been below average. And same last year. Do you think that's going to carry them down? I don't see guys like Gallagher, and Durant carrying this team for that long. I still don't think Durant is the number one center. I don't think he should be a center at all. But the way guys like Tatar have been playing as well, the way Weber has been having impact, it's nice to see that, but I just don't see this being sustainable.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're a bad team. But I think they just... I do think that trade has turned out to be a fantastic trade. And poor Arizona, they just can't do anything right. I mean, I think most people agreed they won the trade at the time, but Galchenyuk has been not good, and Domi has been just outstanding so far for Montreal. Looking at Drouin has also been doing pretty good, 30 points. Though I will point out a lot of these players are getting much lower points than the other teams I was looking at. So I don't think this is a very high-scoring team, and I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs. Like I said, I think one problem for Montreal is Carey Price, and I know he's having a bad season because I picked him on a fantasy team, and he really let me down. I mean, he only has a 9.047 a 9.04 save percentage. So that's really bad for Carey Price. And Niemi, well, he sort of played kind of good actually at the beginning. Now he has a 8.76, which sucks because I really do like Niemi. He was the Sharks goalie for a long time, but I just think he's sort of washed up. And Price is playing very badly by his standards. Oh my God, that contract is going to be a nightmare. So I don't know.
This is the first year of it too.
Yeah, they could be screwed for a really long time. So I think that's definitely something to consider. I do think Thomas Tatar, that seems to have worked out pretty nicely. Though I think lately he's been a bit cold. He still is doing better than Pacioretty, and they also got picks, so not just Tatar. So they seem to have won that trade, but only time will tell. And now we're going to move on from playoff teams to non-playoff teams. So the team closest to the wild card spot, they're only 3 points out of the wild card spot with 2 games in hand, but they are only 2 points out of their third division spot with 1 game in hand, New York Islanders, who I would say it's a surprise that they're doing so well. They were in a playoff spot for a long time this year. They just got knocked out recently, but still plenty of time to make it. So what are your thoughts on the now Tavares-less Islanders?
Maybe Garceau held back the Islanders, but you look at the roster and you see the guys they have, and can you check this out for me? Can you check what Barzal's stats are?
Yeah, currently Barzal leads the team in points. Only 5 goals, but 24 assists for 29 points.
Exactly. See, Barzal is not the same player as he was last year. I knew. I just had a distinct feeling that his stats would go down, but you look at the team and the players aren't really playing out playing out well. Everly, I think we have to go up 5 goals this year.
7.
Or something like that.
7.
Pardon?
Only 7.
7 goals. 7 goals from Everly. I think that their defense isn't that good either. It's just the goaltending. Greiss has been pretty good, and it seems like every year they get a starting goalie, they sink, then they play Greiss and they play well. I don't think that this team as a playoff team. I honestly think that they're going to drop in the standings, but for the Islanders, it's a good look for them so far, and in the future, they couldn't make noise. Like, because they have guys like Walsh from Thompson coming up soon.
Yeah, I think the Islanders. It's interesting because I don't think anyone expected them to be this competitive. And yeah, they not one player on their team has more than 30 points, which is bad. But they're somehow getting wins. And I think it's really disappointing Barzal's play. 35 games played, 5 goals. That is very disappointing. Their scoring leader is Anders Lee, only 13 goals. But goaltending has been the story, which is weird because last year they couldn't stop a puck. Now Greiss has a .920 save percentage, which is very good. And Robin Lehner, who has actually played 6 fewer games than Greiss when he was expected to be the starter, he actually has a .919. So both goalies are playing well. So I just think that's interesting. I agree with you. I don't think they're a playoff team. They had a good start, but I think they are still years away from contention again. Next, we're going to talk about a team that started out the year terribly. They're a team I had very high expectations for, but their goalie can't stay healthy, and they've proven time and time again, without him, they are nothing. The Florida Panthers, 35 points, 35 games played, 15 wins, 14 losses, 6 overtime losses, 36 points in their last 10, 5, 4, and 1. Shaden, what are your thoughts on the Panthers?
I can see them going on a hot stretch again last year. Last year. You know, I think they had one more point in Colorado, and they missed the playoffs because they're in the East. You know, Florida, they're at the bottom of the league, and now they're only they're 7 points out of the playoffs left, but they're still actually, never mind. I was looking at the Metro for a sec, but Florida has, if they just get a good goalie, like Lou Longo's good, but if you get a goalie that can stay healthy, because I do not trust James Reimer at all. I think they can become a good team. They have a great forward core. Their defense isn't that bad. It's just that the goalies can't stay healthy. And if Florida wants to find one of those free agent goalies besides Bobrovsky, there should be okay ones. They should be okay for a wild card spot and maybe even third place in the division. So if I'm Dale Talon, I'm looking for a goalie right now.
Yeah, here's the thing. I agree with you that Luongo can't stay healthy, and that's really hurting them. I want to talk about James Reimer. He was brought in because they knew Luongo was getting old, so they signed him to a long-term contract. They didn't say he was going to have to start. They just said all Reimer had to do was be like a 1A. So not the starter, but play more than a typical backup would. And it's been shockingly bad. He has an 8.88 save percentage. Luongo has a 9.05, which is decent for someone his age. But Reimer an 8.88, with what he's being paid and for how long they signed him, that's just unacceptable. And he really, really let the team down. And I think it's time they move on from him. They might need a new starter soon with Luongo getting injured, but they need a new backup today. And as much as I hate on Aaron Dell, I think he would be a much better backup for the Panthers than Reimer. So I think, maybe if the Sharks would maybe pay them to take Dell because he sucks so much. But no, just really, they could give up a 7th for Dell, and that would be fine. Then we can call up Bebo and get rid of Reimer, run him out of town. He doesn't deserve to play in the NHL. He's been disappointing, not just this season, but last season as well. So that's my thoughts on them. And as the team as a whole, Barkov is incredible, one of the most underrated players in the league. Huberdeau. No one talks about Huberdeau, despite the fact that Huberdeau is having a great season for the Panthers. I have his jersey. That's one reason I follow him. And he leads them in points. 42 points, only 9 goals, but 33 assists. So Huberdeau is a fantastic player. No one's talking about him. And I just think
that Hero isn't really recognizable. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not really a big name player. Like when you say, hey, who's your favorite player on the Florida Panthers? Most favorite permanency fire call for X5. I like Huberdeau too. I think he's another really of an underrated player.
I mean,
But you're right.
Huberdeau has more points than Panarin. He's like the same as Crosby. I mean, he's having a fantastic season. The main reason is because he plays in Florida, and we know that there is pretty much very little local interest from the media in the Panthers, and that's, I mean, it's not really the media's fault. The Panthers have been so bad for so long, and it's not the fans' fault. I mean, why would you pay to watch a team that's only made the playoffs like 4 times or something? So, it's not their fault, but no one covers them, and then all the media outside Florida really wants them to move, even though that's never going to happen. So, they just don't get covered. But Huberdeau is a really fantastic player, and the Panthers are a good team. Evgeny Dadonov, he has 17 goals, 17 assists. That was a pretty good pickup. Yandel's having a great year. So, I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they had a slow start, but I really am positive about this team. And if you can't tell, I do really like the Panthers, so I am biased. I used to be a fan of them. Now I'm a Sharks fan. I've always liked both teams, but they're very underrated and a good team. And now we're going to move on to the next team, a team that is pretty close from here. Pretty much the last place team in the East is only 5 points behind the Panthers, so it's pretty close from down here. So tied with the Panthers, but one below them because of regulation overtime wins is the New York Rangers. 35 games played, 15 wins, 14 losses, 6 overtime losses for 36 points. In their last 10, the Rangers have been an abysmal 2-4-4. So what are your thoughts on the Blue Shirts?
Well, they started off the year pretty hot too. They're one of the first in Metro, but I think Lundqvist is just plain outstanding this year. That defense is so shaky, and what an albatross Kevin Shattenkirk has been for them. I don't really think the thing is you don't have to start for their best forward is Artemi Chad, but he's not really a first line center. He's not really a first line center. He's kind of like a 1B option. But I just see this team as a lottery team, and they're going to be in the contention for Jack Hughes. And Lundqvist is aging. Why would you want to stick with a rebuilding team? Sure, he's been drafted. He's stayed in New York for his whole life. But if Lundqvist is playing this well, and the Rangers aren't getting the wins and the points, Lundqvist just might as well retire because you have Shorty coming up the system, and Georgiev hasn't been that bad at goalie either. So,
yeah.
Honestly, if I was Lundqvist, I would just
I would say Georgiev is
I just got some Twitter right now. The Penguins have extended Gensel.
Oh yeah, I actually saw that and I forgot to mention it. Yeah, so the so $6 million per, so $30 million total. I think that's a good deal based on how he's playing. Now he is playing with Crosby, so I don't think he could do this on his own. But I mean, he is sort of like the new Pascal Dupuis or Chris Kunitz. They used to be Crosby's right-hand man, and now it seems to be Gensel. So I think it's good to lock him up. I think that's a bit much, for him, but based on his point production, I think it's pretty fair. All right. Now, the Rangers, I think Georgiev has pretty much cooled down. He only has an .899 save percentage and a .320 goals against average. Lundqvist has been pretty good lately, .915 save percentage, .238 goals against average. But the Rangers, look, it looks good because they're they're kind of close to a playoff spot, but they're doing really bad lately, and I think they're still well into they're just still starting their rebuild, but I think they're moving in the right direction for sure. Now we're going to talk about another rebuilding team. We'll get through the rebuilding teams pretty quickly just because they're not that interesting. 38 games played, 15 wins, 17 losses, 6 overtime losses, 36 points, and in their last 10, 3-5-2, the Detroit Red Wings. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think for sure that I'm surprised that they got 4 goals on Toronto. Of course, Sparks is the reason why, but that's another thing about Toronto that is at their defense. But, Detroit, I don't know what to make of them. Like, I think Howard has been having a decent season. Their defense is really bad. It just seems like Detroit is a mediocre team. They're not a team that's going to get like 70 points, but they're not going to get a 2-point team either. But I just don't think they can do anything with this team because they overpaid like half of these guys. Like they're paying Jonathan Ericsson like almost $5 million per year to get like 10 points. Like that's just terrible. But I don't know what to make of Detroit, to be honest. Detroit is one of those teams I pay the least attention to because honestly, I don't really care for them because they don't really stick out. If that kind of makes sense in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Another team that I did watch on the night. They're not really a fun team. They're not fast. Like besides Larkin, who, in my opinion, is a really good player in Napa. They have no one else, and they can't do anything in free agency because of the cap. So they're just being a mediocrity for a while now. I think. For a bit of time.
Yeah, no, I think it's actually kind of ridiculous. The Red Wings, they had so many sellouts, and they were playing good for years and years for that 25-year playoff streak. But I think it's about time they're bad. Their fans have been spoiled enough, and it's a long rebuild. They sort of refused to accept it. I don't think they made too many good draft picks. It doesn't seem like Zadina, has been that good. I don't even know I think he's been in the AHL and he might have played a few NHL games. I don't know, but definitely not filling other teams' nets with pucks or whatever. Definitely with Quinn Hughes still available at that time, I think that was a pretty bad pick to go with Zadina. Now looking at it now, but again, way too early to tell. But yeah, one thing about Detroit is they opened a new arena. That cost a lot. They didn't pay most of it. The taxpayers did, but it cost a lot of money, and they're not selling out. In fact, recently they've changed the seats to black from red because it's less noticeable on TV. But yeah, they are not selling out, and it's just a bad time to go and be bad because now they have to sort of get embarrassed after opening a new arena and not many people are showing up. But
But I think the main reason is why is because a lot of people are just on the concourse, just look at the arena. I think one Red Wings fan told me that on Instagram. But like you said, you just open up a new arena and people aren't even going to your games. So
yeah,
you have to do something quickly. And I think because people are gonna say if they have attendance issues, just relocate them. You're not relocating Red Wings. The original 16, they're gonna stay there forever.
Oh yeah, no, they won't relocate. They make tons of money on TV. I think that's one interesting thing. People get too caught up in attendance. I don't think the teams make more money on TV than they do on attendance. So it really doesn't actually matter that they're not selling out. It's just looks kind of bad, But I think that they'll eventually improve attendance once the team gets better, but I don't think that's going to happen for a little while. So now we're going to move on to one of the biggest underperformers this year, a team we all had so much hope for going into the offseason, and then they didn't do they did one really good offseason move and one really terrible one. 35 games played, 15 wins, 15 losses, 5 overtime losses, the Carolina Hurricanes. And in their last 10, 3-6-1. So, what are your thoughts on this crazy team?
This is the problem with of hiring Tom Waddell as your GM. You trade away Skinner and Lindholm, two of your arguably best players, for Dougie Hamilton, who's done nothing for you. Like, he has 9 points. Michael Ferland, who started off the year hot and has done nothing. Look at Lindholm. He's been fantastic. Look at Skinner. He's second in the league in goals. And you're coming out and saying, hey, I don't have enough goal scorers on his team. You just traded a 26. You just traded a 27-year-old that's 26 goals, second behind Ovechkin, who's arguably the greatest goal scorer of this generation so far, and a guy like Elias Lindholm. If you just kept them, things would have been different. And guess what? You had another opportunity to get William Nylander. You failed on that. That's the thing. I was pissed when the Canes got Don Waddell, because I was thinking this is a bad move. I think Tom Dundon is good for an owner, but there's so many good GMs out there, and he chose Don Waddell out of everybody. He's been out of a job since forever and did nothing with his Thrashers.
Yeah, no. Let's talk about that Lindholm trade for Hamilton. We'll get to Skinner in a second. Hamilton, it was supposed to be such a good trade, and they're actually already good defense. Hamilton has 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points, minus 13. I mean, unbelievable. While Elias Lindholm has 39 points, 17 goals, 22 assists for the Flames. He's doing great.
And now, I forgot to mention Noah Hanifin.
Oh yeah, Noah Hanifin. Yeah, he was also in there. But you can just forget him. Just compared to just including Lindholm in that trade, you automatically lose it already. Now let's talk about Cliff Pu, who was, you trade Skinner for him in a second, so Pu better turn out. Look what he's done in the AHL. 26 games played for the Charlotte Checkers. 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points. This is a bust. I don't like calling players busts early because a lot of times players just take time to improve. But how do you get 3 points in the AHL? Come on. Unbelievable that they would trade Skinner for that.
Don Waddell looks dumb. I get it. They wanted a new voice in the organization. I was fine with Ron Francis' GM, honestly. I have no problems with Ron Francis. I like Robert Moore as the head coach. I didn't think Bill Pierce was working in Carolina at all. And one thing, like I said, Tom Dunn's a great GM. Great owner, but I just feel like Don Waddell was just looking at trades online saying this makes sense. Okay, I get it. I kind of got the Lindholm trade. You wanted a big change in your team. But then that Skinner trade is just god-awful. You got a prospect. You got a prospect and a couple picks that aren't going to become anything now because look how good Buffalo is. You look at what the Patrick trade got. They got a top prospect that's playing for Team Canada right now in the World Juniors, a second-round pick, and a roster player back. That's what Jeff Skinner should have gotten. It just boggles my mind how bad this turned out. We knew it was a bad trade at first, but the way Skinner has been playing and Lindholm has been playing is just making it worse. Everybody thought Doug Hamilton was going to excel in Carolina. Guess what? He's not. Honestly. And then Carolina brings in Scott Darling, who's been terrible. He's in the AHL. It's these moves are backfiring on the Hurricanes, and it's not looking good for them. I think the last good trade that they made was the Table Teravainen trade, which was back in 2016. They haven't made a good move since.
I just feel terrible for their fans. They made the semifinals. A lot of people forget this. They made the semifinals in 2009, and that was the last year they made the playoffs. People say they shouldn't exist and they should relocate. I don't blame them. I wouldn't go to a team's game if they hadn't made the playoffs since 2009. I wouldn't spend money on it anyway. I wouldn't go to many games. I mean, why should they? They finally develop talent with Skinner, and that they draft and they finally get ready, and then they give it away and they get nothing. And they can't solve their goaltending problems. It's just a nightmare. I mean, look at them. They, after making all those terrible moves, they're still mediocre. So if they hadn't made those moves, they'd probably be in a playoff spot. And if they'd made good moves, they could even be, leading their division. It's just really frustrating for their poor fans.
And I look at Andrei Svechnikov, right? He's start off the year really slow because they're playing him on the third, fourth line. I get it. You want to spread out their scoring, but you don't play late talent with Lucas Wallmark.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't line up.
What are you doing?
I feel like the only good thing that they've done this year was bring back the Hartford Whalers uniforms.
Yeah, those were sick.
Honestly, I watched that game. I love it. People just say move them back to Hartford. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, Hartford.
But I feel like this team would have been better in Hartford, in my opinion. Moving on Carolina was a big mistake.
Yeah, well, I don't think they should have left Hartford. I do think the NHL is smart for having a team in Carolina, just because that is one of the fastest growing areas in the U.S. But I think it is actually the fastest growing area in the U.S. But I think it's a very wealthy area. I think fans would support the team if they were ever good, but they just aren't, and that's a problem. All right, we have to move on because we still have a lot of teams to go. Yeah. So we are just going to speed run through these last few teams in the East before getting to the West. Philadelphia with 34 points. So I'm just going to skip all this other stuff. Philadelphia, in my opinion, complete disappointment. They can't get a goalie. Carter Hart, who's like their fourth string goalie, now will probably be their starter because he's playing pretty good. But, I don't know. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think
if they get Jack Hughes, I'm going to ride.
They have a very good chance of getting Jack Hughes. But, I don't really know what they do. Giroux is having a great year, just like he did last year. He's 42 points right now, but he is 31. So the question is are you rebuilding or retooling? Do you think that with Hart and if you get Hughes or a good player, you can get back into contention? Because if it's a retool, you don't trade him, Voracek, Couturier, or Simmons. But if it is, then you do trade one. So that'll be interesting. If you have any thoughts on him, share them. Otherwise, we'll move on.
I think that Patrick I always knew Patrick was going to be a bust. I don't think they get Bobrovsky anymore because of the way Hart has been playing. He's supposed to be like the next Carey Price. People have been saying. But he said a huge disappointment. They have no defense besides Gostisbehere and Provorov. They're paying $5 million to a third-pair defenseman. Chuck Fletcher's can do some serious damage in the offseason. And I can see them trading Simmons soon.
I would be happy with that if I were a Flyers fan because he only has 16 points. So, hopefully they can get any return. But yeah, no, it's interesting. And Hag, who had started out really good, and I picked him up on my fantasy team, he only has 11 points. So I think all the hype around him is gone. And I think the Flyers, we'll see what happens with them. All right, moving on, we got Ottawa Senators, 34 points. What are your thoughts on them?
Kachuk has been amazing. At the start of the season, they surprised people. Then Ottawa put in Ottawa. Why am I bringing this up again? But the Uber video, all that stuff. After that got released, it seems like there's locker room issues again. I can still potentially see them train Duchesne. I think Stone is here forever, but I still think Duchesne's gone.
I think it could be the other way around because Stone, is he an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year?
He is.
Yeah, I think he'll gone. But I heard they're in talks with the new contract for Duchesne, who is playing pretty well. He's got 36 points. I'd say that's good. Stone is 40.
But Chabot has been a huge bright spot for this team.
Mm-hmm. Now, Chabot, I think for a long time, he led defensemen in points. He might still. He has 37 points. That's really good. He's playing a lot better than Carlson is playing. We'll get to that when we get to the Sharks. But, I just want to rush right through him. goaltending, I think that's been a problem. Anderson only a .905 save percentage. So we'll see how it goes, but they're bad, and it's what we expected. Finally, I want to get through them quickly, but I am surprised at how bad New Jersey is doing. Only 31 points. What's the deal?
Well, goaltending is one of them. Of course, okay, this is weird how I'm bringing this up, but it's been exactly 1 year. 1 year ago today was the last time Corey Schneider has won a game in regulation. 1 year ago today.
Wow.
And their defense is not great either. Butcher is not doing as well as he did last year. Hall has been on a bit of a skid. He just had a 3-point game. Hishe, I haven't heard his name for a while. It just seems like everything fell apart for New Jersey, and it's not looking good for them. Honestly, I don't see them getting out of this funk because Schneider has been abysmal. Kincaid is now starting to slump, and now your guys are relying on Mackenzie Blackwood to carry you. So honestly, I don't know, New Jersey, you could be screwed for this year.
Yeah, in New Jersey, I'll say this: Hall's having a good year, 37 points. That's pretty good. Not heart-worthy, but certainly good. Palmieri is having a good year for him, 33 points. He's just okay, 23 points. This team lacks depth. They don't have any secondary scoring besides those guys, really. I mean, I just don't know what to say about them, especially at forward. Coleman, he's been okay. I mean, but they just don't have secondary scoring. I think that's a huge problem, and I agree.
Sorry, you go.
And I agree the goalies are terrible. So what are you saying?
So what happened to Johansson? Because that was a huge acquisition a couple years ago.
Yeah, 15 points. I mean, Matt, he's been Matt. He has not been good. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think they don't have depth, and that's a problem. And who knows what's going to happen to Hall? Are they going to keep him around? Are they going to trade him? Who knows? But they still are definitely, if not rebuilding, they're definitely retooling, and we'll see what happens there.
And I'm going to say this right now. I don't think Hall would want to play for a rebuilding team again after the hell
he
experienced Edmonton. Why would he want to play for New Jersey? And if New Jersey gets Jack Hughes, that HHH line would either be on fire or that would be their only, that would be the only liner to rely on. But
yeah, well, if they get Hughes, I think Hall stays. If they don't, maybe they trade him and slightly to punt on their rebuild just a bit, but I think it would be a pretty good thing. All right, we're going to do a quick pause, and then we will see what we'll talk about the Eastern Conference. I'll be right back. I mean the Western Conference. All right, and I'm back. We're now going to go over the Western Conference, and we're first going to start out with the Western Conference leader in points. It didn't surprise a lot of people. I thought they'd regress a little bit, but it's Winnipeg, 50 points. In their last 10, 8-2-0, so they're pretty hot. What are your thoughts on the Jets?
I had a feeling that they're going to be the Western Conference champions. I think Hellebuyck has been not great if you see his stats, but I think he's going to pick it up. You look at Brossoit's stats, and of course, Brossoit does well when he leaves Edmonton. It's just Edmonton's luck. But, I think things are going well for the Jets. They're still stacked in the fence. That forward core is just amazing. I think Laine is starting to cool down a bit, but with Laine, when he heats up, he's on fire. Scheifele, Wheeler has been phenomenal. I think Connor's been good. Ehlers has had a bit of a cold stretch, but I think that's fine. I would like to see them add Kevin Hayes because I don't know if NBC does this, but every Saturday, which is Hockey Night in Canada, there's a segment called Saturday Headlines where Friedman and everybody else talks about the biggest news and what could happen in the future. They're saying that Winnipeg could be on Kevin Hayes. I think that'll be such a great addition for Winnipeg because they get a second line center kind of like Stastny, but younger, and he could resign Winnipeg. So I think Winnipeg, if they add a guy like Hayes, they'll be unstoppable. And I do think that this time they'll make the Stanley Cup Finals if they don't run into any hot goalies last time.
Yeah, I think Mark Scheifele. Now I think people I don't ever let anyone say the Jets are underrated, because people will not shut up about them, and that's fine. I mean, they're really good. Scheifele's having a great year, 49 points. Brossoit, well, yeah, he's only played 10 games, but he has a 9.39, which is insane save percentage. But yeah, Blake Wheeler's has second most assists in the league, or tied for first assists in the league with 43. So yeah, they're having a great year. They're very deep, and I definitely think this team is going to make I think they'll make it if they can get past Nashville, who they will probably play in the second round. Then they might make a deep run. I think it's going to sort of come down to what happened last year. We will see what happens there. Now we're going to move on to the team with the next most points. Now this surprised me a lot. We have Calgary, 47 points, and in their last 10, 6-3-1. What are your thoughts on your big rivals, the Flames?
I'm gonna get some credit tonight, and I don't want to do this, but Calgary's impressed me. I think that adding Lindholm, I don't want to go around again, but I think adding Lindholm was amazing. I think Kachuk has been incredible for them. Their defense has been great. I think Giordano is going to be a Norris candidate this year. Smith has been okay, but Rich has carried them. If they add another four, I think, in my opinion, they're third round bound. James Neal, I'm going to talk about him for a sec. He has the same amount of points as Lucic.
Yeah, that was a bust.
And both guys, after this year, 4 years left, I think Neal makes 5.8 and Lucic makes 6 mil. In Calgary, if Neal doesn't start producing, good luck trading that contract. And it's good that it doesn't have no losing clause, but
yeah, no.
They bit on Neal. It bit them in the butt, but I'm just happy. I like Neal. When he signed in Calgary, I was really mad because I was like, you know what, we need a winger for McDavid, but it hasn't worked out for the Flames, and you gotta feel bad for James Neal because he's a motivated guy, but he's always been injured. But last year in 60 games, he's had 44 points, right? So James Neal picks it up. He could go on fire, but that's just been abysmal for the Flames. But I realize that they've been rock solid. I've been kind of impressed with them so far.
Here's what I think is interesting. Rittich, I thought goaltending would sink him, and Smith has sunk them when he's played. 8.88 save percentage in 21 games. But in 20 games, Rittich has a 9.23. And that's why they're where they are today. Yes, they have a good defense. Yes, Giordano is having a fantastic year, which I was a hater. I mean, these guys proved me wrong. I was a hater. I was a doubter. I mean, at 35, to have 35 goals in 35 games for Giordano, I mean, that's impressive. 35 years old, he's just run the 35 table. But, pretty impressive. Gaudreau is good, but we knew that he would be. But Lindholm, that was a great pickup. Yeah, it's definitely. I still do not think they'll win the division, but I definitely think they're a playoff team. Next, we're talking about Nashville. They were first in the conference for a long time now. They have 46 points. They're second in their division, and they've been cold lately. So, what are your thoughts on Nashville?
Well, they're getting Arvidsson come back today, which is a plus for them. Honestly, I'm gonna take another hot take here. I don't see Nashville making. I just see Nashville as another second round exit because you can say all you want about 2017. That was all Rene, and I just still think Rene, who's aging, and I do think Saros should be the backup. Should be the starter.
No.
Honestly,
I don't think
I like Nashville. I do, but I just don't think they can make it to the finals again. I think that they can push for a game 7 in the second round, even maybe make it to the third round, but no. Guys like Turris has really disappointed this year, and now, once again, injury issues with Subban. Ellis has been hitting rock bottom as of late, so, I don't really know what to make of Nashville because they've been just, like you said, they've been struggling. Some of their players have been struggling, so I just don't see this team making it as far as it did in 2017 and maybe even the early second round exit for them.
Here's what I'll say. Nashville, once again, is relying on Rinne. He has a .925 save percentage, so very good. So they're relying on him, but we know in playoffs he chokes. Okay, look at them, their stats. They're barely better than the Islanders, point-wise. I think they have one player, Johansson, with over 30 points, and he is 31. Everyone else has under 30. I mean, it's ridiculous. Now, Arvidsson and Subban coming back will be huge for them. But, I mean, it's amazing that they've been able to have as many points as they can with the offense playing this badly. I mean, I don't understand how, with all their offensive talent, they can be doing this badly, And I know I'm going to get hate for this from some people, but I don't really care. I think that it could be a coaching problem. I think they are too talented to be producing this little on offense. Johansson leads the team in points, but I think he should have more than 6 goals. He's 25 assists. He should have more than 6 goals. I think this might be a coaching problem, especially with how much he's getting paid. So, who knows? I think they have the talent. I just don't think they're producing. And they've had injury problems, but I don't think that's a good excuse. And now we're going to go to the second place team in the Pacific Division, the Sharks, who this has been, I think one of, I'm going to sound spoiled here because they are in a playoff spot and do have a lot of points. I think it's been one of the most disappointing seasons ever as a Sharks fan, maybe after 2015. So what are your thoughts on the Sharks as sort of an outside opinion that isn't biased like me?
Well, first of all, Pavelski has just been awesome so far this year. As all of the guys expected to lead the Sharks in points, I expected guys like Couture to maybe step up a bit, but I think Pavelski has really take the reins. 23 goals, that's outstanding. Meyer has been amazing too. Burns looks like his old self, 35 points. But, adding Carlson was going to be huge to this team, and he's disappointing. He started to take it back up, but it's not looking good for him. Kane has, I think, been really disappointing so far. He's tied with Kevin LeBlanc for 7 points. Kevin LeBlanc, they're paying Kane $7 million a year just to get around 45 points a year. You can't do that when you're having a bottom sixer like LeBlanc, making like around 92,000. I don't really know, but that's not good for the Sharks. And of course, Joe Thornton, he's always had those injury issues. 16 points, 29 games. I would cut Joseph slack because last 3 years he's always had these ACL, MCL, leg injuries. Honestly, I think this is the final year of Jumbo Joe. That's just my opinion. But, you have to rely on Martin Jones again because, Pavelski's also getting up there in age, right? And, Couture's starting his contract soon. And, besides Meyer, Merkel in the fence is coming up, but no other really big prospects. So that falls to Aaron Dowd, Martin Jones, and Jones has been pretty bad this year, like a 2.86 goals against average, and just about under 900 save percentage. It's not good for a starter. And Dell hasn't been that great either. If the Sharks make the playoffs, they're Martin Jones or Aaron Dowd, depending which one they choose to take the reins for the starter, has to play well. If not, well, it's going to be another first round exit for them.
Yeah, I have to I think pretty much you said everything spot on. Here's what I sort of want to say. Burns, why is he... I think the Sens fans were right when they were talking about Burns and hating on him after he fairly, I think he deserved that Norris back when he won it. But they were saying he's a forward. This year he's playing like a forward. Though he only has 4 goals, he has 31 assists, 35 points, and he is +5. But he can't play defense. I've seen, this is sort of some of the stuff you can't always tell from stats, but just watching him play on a nightly basis, he can't play defense. He is constantly turning over the puck. He is constantly not getting back. He's not the same. Now, he's putting up enough offense to be worth it, but I'm worried about his defensive ability. And I think we might need to move him back to forward, but we'll see how that goes. Carlson.
Honestly, yeah. I like Burns as a forward. I like him way better as a forward and a defenseman, so I agree with you there.
I liked him as a defenseman in 2016-17. All right, that's fine. I'll just keep going. Erik Karlsson. I'll save that for later. But, the Sharks, I'll talk about Jones and Dell just a bit. Jones disappointing, especially after we locked him up for that long. Just let me know when you get back, Shaden, if you can hear this. Jones has been bad. Okay, 8.99 save percentage is not good. Aaron Dell has not been good. 9.04, but he never really is, and it's still time to call it Bibo, but I'm sort of beating a dead horse at this point. They're not going to do anything about that, But I'm sort of concerned. I think the main concern of a lot of Sharks fans is Vlasic. Okay, we signed him to a big contract. I don't think last offseason, I think the one before, and Vlasic has not been good. Okay, Vlasic has only 9 points, -16. Now, I know plus minus isn't the best statistic for individuals, but he's not playing well, Vlasic. And unlike Burns, he doesn't have the offense to make up for his defensive struggles. So I think that's going to be a problem. I want to talk about Donskoy. We really thought after last year, it's sort of hard to tell because after his rookie season, we loved him. After his second season, we didn't like him. Then after last season, it's like, oh, he's pretty good. Now, I don't really know what to think. 6 goals, 9 assists, that's not too good. We need more point production from Donskoy. But I think the main thing is Karlsson. Now, a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, Karlsson's doing pretty good. 2 goals, 24 assists for 26 points. But he was hyped up to be a Norris caliber defenseman. He's looking just like a pretty good defenseman. But 2 goals, you need to have more than 2 goals. It's just ridiculous that he was hyped up to be this savior and a fantastic defenseman, but he has the exact same number of goals as Heed and Radil combined. Heed and Seamek combined, and they're both rookies who barely have played. So I really think Karlsson was a big disappointment, even though he is doing okay. He just needs to score more, and I just think that it seems like we overpaid for him. Now that Shaden is back, we're going to move on to the next team, which is they're tied in points, but we're going to go to Colorado next. What are your thoughts on the Avalanche?
That's it for the same reason for me. It's like Boston. One line carries this whole team. Besides Ranson, Landeskog, and McKinnon, you have no one else that can show up and lead the game. Barry has been great this year. I think Jara has been good. I think Larimov has been decent. But besides that, guess what? You have no scoring depth. And I think just because that one line, they're going to be a playoff team. But, I don't really think Colorado deserves a playoff spot. Because, sure, they made it last year, but, it's still going to be a first-round exit because they still feel like they have a defense issue. And, just because of those 3 great players, they're going to apparently play in the playoffs, which I don't agree with. I think you should work as a team and maybe spread out the scoring a bit So, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think I want to point out Grubauer has been a huge disappointment, especially after people thought maybe he could be the starter. He's only got a 900 save percentage, so it seems like Varlamov, with his 913 save percentage, will keep the starter spot. And Grubauer has 3.16 goals against average, which is much higher than he should have. But yeah, I completely agree with you about Colorado being top heavy. Look, Mikko Rantanen, I think no one talks about him enough. He's the best playmaker in the league. I know. 43 assists. He has more assists than Crosby has points. Okay, I mean that's just insane to think about. He has more assists than a lot of good players have points, more assists. So I just think that that can't be ignored. And McKinnon's also having a great year: 22 goals, 56 assists. Landeskog, 24 goals, 19 assists. But let's listen to these big point drop-offs to show how shallow this team is. Okay? McKinnon second most. The difference between McKinnon and the third, so second and third most, is there is a 13-point drop from McKinnon's point totals to Landeskog's point totals. Now I'm going to compare that to the Jets, who are in first in the Western Conference. The difference between their second and third is 18. So I guess that's a bigger drop, but I would still say they're deeper. But let's look at Colorado and the next drop. There is a 19-point drop from third to fourth, from Landeskog to Barrie's point total. And Barrie's on defense. So their fourth highest is a defenseman because they're really only one line. And, Winnipeg, it's a 2-point drop from 3 to 4. So, really, Colorado is not deep enough to do anything in the playoffs. But I think if they add pieces, there's a very good chance they'll get Jack Hughes because of the Senators. So, I think they're going to be good soon, and they definitely have the pieces. But they're sort of wasting a career year from Rantanen, But we'll see how it ends up. And now we're going to, just because I don't want this to go on forever, we're going to try and speed up just a little bit to finish the Western Conference. We're going to talk about Vegas, 44 points, third in the Pacific. What are your thoughts?
I think Vegas, I was up and down on Vegas. I felt like they can either barely make the playoffs or barely miss. It looks like that so far. They still want to finish first in the Pacific. But, I think Patrick has been a huge disappointment. Holden has been meh. I think a lot of other key additions haven't been as great. William Karlsson has dropped off tremendously. It's a good thing that they didn't overpay Karlsson for 1 year or even multiple years. No, Vegas is going to be a first round exit team. I don't see Fleury having the magic he did last year. I think all out, I just don't see this team having enough scoring for it. You guys lost Perron and Neal. Of course, Perron is, I think, one of the top scorers in St. Louis. Of course, Neal's not doing so hot, but, I just don't see his team doing as well as they did last year. I think the magic is just all gone.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's all gone. I think they've really improved. They started out pretty bad, but yeah, I don't think they're going to make another cup run, but I think they'll be a playoff team for sure, especially when the Pacific Division isn't that strong, though it is stronger than a lot of people give it credit for. And now we're going to talk about the first wild card team, Anaheim. What are your thoughts on the Ducks?
I'm trying for my bias. I'll decide. I think they kind of suck. And the main reason why they're still in a playoff spot is because of John Gibson. That's the only reason why. They have injury issues. They had to rely on Maxime Comtois for the first 10 games of the year because of how hampered they were in injuries. I don't think East is ever going to be back to the player he was, and because he's still injured too, I believe, right? So Kessler isn't the same after that hip surgery after the 2017 playoffs. I just think that without Gibson, this team is terrible, beyond garbage. Because listen, Raquel, magnificent player. And you have other guys coming up like Troy Terry and all those guys. But if I'm a guy like Jakob Silfverberg, who is a UFA this year, would I want to stay in Anaheim for the next, let's say, 3 to 8 years on a team that won't compete for a Stanley Cup and would just be mediocre, or would just be mediocre, or just keep losing in the first round because Getzlaf and Perry are going to be 35 next year. Kessler's turning, I think, 34 really, really soon. Like, that core is aging, and they're not trying to get rid of them. And besides Raquel, and when Silfverberg goes, who else do they have? Henrique has been really bad this year, and the defense can't hold it all. Like, Fowler's is aging, and Lindholm has been as impressive as he was the previous years, right? I just think John Gibson is the only reason why this team is where they are right now.
I sort of agree with you. I do disagree that I sort of disagree that they suck. I wouldn't say that because yes, Gibson is pretty much the main reason why they're doing good. But as long as they have him, which they do, there's nothing to panic about. He's on the team. He's not going anywhere. They locked him up. He has a .926 save percentage. He's doing great. Their backup, Miller, even though he only has 10 games played, has a .922. So, yes, they're relying heavily on goaltending, and they're a low-scoring defensive team. But, I mean, that is part of the game. And they are under league average for goals allowed. They're well under league average for goals for. But if they're finding ways to win this way, then, so be it. And, yes, in the future, maybe they won't be very good if Gibson can't keep up this insane pace. But this year, I mean, I think they're a playoff team just based on how they're playing. I don't think anything's gonna stop them unless injuries do. So we'll see how that goes. And as for Silfverberg, yeah, he might want to leave, but who's gonna pay him? He's only got 15 points. He's been pretty disappointing in 33 games played. So, I think he might have to resign because no one else might be willing to pay him. We'll see. And now we won't rush through this team, Edmonton. So Shaden's favorite team, and we're gonna talk about them. 39 points, 5-4-1 in their last 10. What are your thoughts?
Well, I have a lot to say about this team. I think this is, in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons why Edmonton has been in this spot is because of the play of Mikko Koskinen. I never expected this from Mikko. It's a 2.34 goals against average. It's dropped off because I think a couple weeks ago it was like at a 2.12 because he lost the game to Tampa and Vancouver. But I think Talbot is just running himself out of town. He's a both for goalies are UFAs. Talbot is a 3.21 goals against average and a .894 save percentage. Yeah, good luck. You're not staying Edmonton. I think like other guys have really stepped up this year. Like Nuge, 33 points. He's improved tremendously. He's carrying his own line. He seems like a Hitchcock player. I think Hitchcock really relies on Nuge. For me, I'm disappointed in this one player. I'm disappointed in two players. I'll talk about this guy first. Even though he's over a point per game, he's on pace for almost 90 points. I kind of want him out of town. That's Draisaitl. Because he's with McDavid. Like, Draisaitl, you want $8.5 million, right? We paid you that. But you need to be a second-line center. You're supposed to be like Pittsburgh's Malkin. That's what everybody's saying. McDavid, Draisaitl is like Malkin and Crosby. McDavid and Crosby, you can say what you want. They're comparable in most ways. I still believe Crosby is still number one. He's better defensively, but no doubt in my mind Malkin's better than Draisaitl. But Draisaitl still needs to play kind of like a Malkin in the playoffs. He did that against the Ducks. He had 13 points in 6 games. That's outstanding. He needs to play like that in the regular season. But guess what? He's too greedy. He wants to play McDavid. There's a report that said, I think before Tom McClellan got fired, he threatened. I think he said he went up to Charlotte and threatened him to fire McLeod if he doesn't play with McDavid. Like, you can't do that. You know, like, sure, you can say the same thing for Nuge, but I feel like Nuge, you know, he's versatile. I like him on the wing. Him and McDavid and Ratty play well together. But Draisaitl, you can't do this. Like, you're over a point per game. Good for you. But you need to carry your own line. If you don't carry your own line, why would we need you? You're not a winger. You're a center.
Yeah, no, I think it's just ridiculous that I 100% agree with you. He has to play on his own line, Draisaitl. And if he didn't want to play on his own line, he should have taken a discount. If he had taken, $7 million per year, I think that would be pretty fair for what he produces.
Yeah.
And he could play with McDavid, and that would be fine. That's a fine top line center with McDavid. He's not your best center, but you don't pay him like your best center. But if he wants to play with McDavid, you shouldn't have took this much. He took this much. He's not worthy to play with McDavid. I do think this team has a big problem with depth. I think that I think that they don't have the forward or defensive depth to do anything in the playoffs. But I think they're a decent team. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs just because I think that someone like Dallas or Minnesota will take their wild card spot. But, I do think that they're at least going to be competitive. And I also 100% agree with you about goaltending. Koskinen has been the better goalie. 9.25 to 8.94. It's not a question who's better. Talbot is getting paid more, but both goalies become free agents at the end of the season. I don't think that it's a mystery who Edmonton's going to try and re-sign. It's not Talbot. Maybe Talbot is a backup, but Koskinen will be their main priority, I'm sure. So.
And just saying, I'm not done here for a sec.
Yeah, go ahead.
Puljujarvi has just, I don't know, it's been a mystery. What's up with this kid? I like Puljujarvi, honestly, but 5 points this year when you're supposed to be breaking out. If you see his preseason stats, they're amazing. Everybody thought he was gonna break out. Guess what? He didn't. And there's something wrong with Puljujarvi. And it's probably the management because Edmonton has always been known for having terrible management. And I just wish that we actually did a full house sweep. But if we just left this kid in Europe for one season, let him develop in the AHL for one whole season, then brought him up for this season, which will be his first season, he would have been amazing. But guess what? Edmonton does this thing where they think these prospects are good enough to play right away. And that's when I'm happy Chiarelli actually stepped up to start after 9 games. I'm happy to do the same thing with Yamamoto. But, I don't know what I'm going to say here because he's an RFA this year. And no way he's getting more than $1 million. Honestly, I can see him staying for another 2 years on a 2-way deal.
It's got to be a bridge deal.
It's a bridge deal, and you're not going to crack a $1 million by the way you're playing. And Ratty, okay, I'm going to make a case for Ty Ratty here. Hitchcock and Ratty never got along with St. Louis, which is a factor, I think. But, I just want to see them put Ratty back in Regional Hockey to McDavid because I love that line at the end of last year. It was on fire, but honestly, it's not good. Caleb Jones has stepped in on defense because Clough-Baham is out to the end of January, which is going to kill me. Russell's out. And Russell's been one of our best defensemen this year. Points might not show it, but I really like Russell, even though he's overpaid. Jones has stepped in pretty well 4 games. He has 1 point. I think he's been solid. I would like to see Bear get a chance too, but Garrison needs to get out because he's not a liability in the NHL. Every time he's on the ice, I'm scared he's gonna do something stupid and turn over the puck. Benny and Garrison need to get out of here because honestly, they've been atrocious all year. Points might not show it, but if you watch Edmonton games, you know how bad they are. I can keep going, but Cassian's been disappointed. 30 points. You're getting paid $2 million on the 4th line. You're putting up that production. Spooner has been awful. We've only played Leiden 3 games. Reader has been injured. He had 7 points before he got injured 17 games. I hope to see him get a goal soon. Lucic has been abysmal. There's no words to put this team. Like you said, there's no depth, and all these guys are overpaid, aren't doing anything. Next year in the summer, Wrestling Sekra, there are no minimum clauses, no trade clauses, so you can actually trade them. And by the way, Jones is playing, and Bears most likely making Angel full time. I'm just gonna say right now, I wouldn't be surprised if one or both of Russell and Stecker are gone next year, and that would help Edmonton long term because of their cap. But I don't know how you move those contracts unless Arizona, takes them. But you still have to give up like a prospect. But like you said, it's just so bad. But one bright spot is on the forward core is Alex Chason.
Yeah.
16 goals on the season. No one expected that. I thought he'd be just a bottom 6 step guy, but he's really stepped in, and he's becoming a really fan favorite now.
All right, so I think we'll try and we can try and get through these last teams hopefully in 15 minutes, so that or something like that. We can stay under 2 hours. But yeah, no, great analysis on Edmonton. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to watch for the rest of the year. And yeah, while there's a lot of dysfunctional, I would say that at least this year, while, there's been a lot of problems with that team, at least they're somewhat competitive and could make the playoffs, And it'll at least be exciting to watch them somewhat down the stretch. Now we're going to talk about the team that is tied with Edmonton, but has played one extra game, so just hovering on the outside looking in, Dallas. What are your thoughts on the Stars?
I think the Stars are great. Unlike Colorado, sure, they have a fire first line, but, they have a lot of actual forward depth. I feel like, Shore is a good player. I really I loved him in Edmonton. I'm so mad that we let him go, but, Spezza looks like he's a bit better this year. I think they still need another top 6 forward to actually maybe push for a top 3 spot. But other than that, their defense is great. Ben Bishop has been good. I think Heiskanen has been amazing. Honestly, if Dallas did get Charles, because that was the rumor in the summer, I think now it looks really dumb to trade Heiskanen. But I think Dallas probably gets that second wildcard spot because I do not see Edmonton keeping up the pace they're on right now, even though they're on a downfall. But I really like Dallas' team this year.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting team. Ben Bishop has a .923 save percentage, which I was sort of surprised by. I thought he wasn't doing too good, but it turns out he's doing really good. So that's interesting. I do think I'm sort of disappointed in Sagan and Ben. Sagan has 32 points, Ben has 30 points, I sort of expected them to be elite, this year, and they've just been decent. But they should be, based on how much they're getting paid and how much they're getting relied on, they should both be doing way better. So I think that's sort of the reason that they're not in the playoffs. I do think they will make the playoffs ahead of Edmonton and maybe even ahead of Colorado. Who knows? But I think this might finally be the year they can get something done if the Stars can produce. Now we're gonna head to the next team, Vancouver, 38 points, but 39 games played. So, and recently they've been okay, 6-3-1. What are your thoughts on the Canucks?
They're hot and cold. I think at one point they're like 7-1-1. Then they went 10-11-1. I'm sorry, man, 1-10. Sorry, 1-11-1. Pettersson, great player, amazing. He's really shown that he's probably the best player in the 2017 draft. Besser has been great. Horvat is looking good. But besides that, they really have no one else. Like Louis Eriksson sure is starting to look a bit better. That contract is still bad. I think that Virtanen is looking better. He's still not worthy of that nice overall selection, but having 10 goals and I think around 20 points is good for Virtanen. I still think that he's gonna go on a huge slump because that's what he usually does, but that defense is still bad. I think Edler's probably gonna get traded, but I think he signed by Vancouver. I think Tanev should be out, because they have a young group of defensemen coming up next year. I think Ulave should make the team next year. If it doesn't, then there's an argument you can call him a bust. But I think Stetcher, Hutton, those aren't top four guys. I think Stetcher and Hutton are number fives at best. You have Branson, who should be a number 7. You're paying him $4 million, like he's a top four defenseman, kind of like a Russell type, right? So, I think defense is really an issue. Goaltending, I don't trust Markstrom, but I think that Horvat, Pedersen, and Besser are really making this team shine, and guys like Colin, Gaudette coming up soon. This could be a scary team in the future with also Demko coming up.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about Demko. I'll get to him in a second, but yeah, Vancouver. Pedersen. I still think he's gonna win Rookie of the Year. Recently, some people have been making a push. It should be someone else, but Pedersen leads the team in points, 36 points. That I think you have to give it to him. Horvat's been good. Besser's been injured, but when he's playing, he's pretty good. 23 points. Goldobin, I think. That's been very nice because he's a former Sharks prospect, and he seemed like a bust when they first got him, but he's seeming to find his role as an NHLer, so that's good for him. Goaltending, that's a problem. I think Markstrom, he was highly touted when he was in Florida. From the day he was drafted, he took a long time to develop. They eventually traded him in the Luongo trade, and he was still highly regarded at the time. I think his time's up, he's 29, he's no longer young. Even though goalies it does take them longer to develop. I think you can forget about Markstrom being this team's reliable starter, and you just got to move on. Thatcher Demko, they're talking about him over and over, but why is it taking him so long? He's 23. But there are, Murray came in and did well younger. Demko's been in the AHL for at least 2 years. It's just sort of like you're waiting for him to come up, and he just never is. So hopefully for the Canucks, he will be their goalie of the future. But it's sort of there's still time, but it's sort of starting to run out. And I do hope he succeeds, because he is from California. So you gotta support the California hockey players, more and more NHLers from California. And we'll talk a bit about that when we briefly mention the World Juniors at the end of the podcast. So, yeah, Vancouver, don't see them as a playoff team, but they've been at least decent. Now we're going to talk about Minnesota. Minnesota's got 37 points.
At the start of the year, I think by the start of December, I will put them as a playoff team. I wouldn't put them as a playoff team anymore just because of the Dumba injury.
Yeah, that's tough.
3 months.
At least 3 months.
Yeah, and that's at the end of March. I don't know how long they can last without Dumba. Because Spurgeon, in my opinion, is pretty overrated. I like Brodin. I like Suter, but after that, you have Nate Prosser, Nick Seeler, and that's it. Those are guys that are... I feel like Nate Prosser is a nice number 7. I think Nick Seeler is like an AHR, but besides that, you need to get a defenseman, and no one can replace Matt Dumba on that team. I'm sorry. I know Suter is a really good defenseman, but in my opinion, Dumba is their best defenseman by far, and now he's out, so good luck.
I had them as the first wild card in my preseason predictions. I'm disappointed by him, I know Dumba's out, but I don't think that's an excuse. Granlund's played well, but Stahl is still playing well, but I don't think they're deep enough. I think they've got some young talent that could eventually be good. I love Jordan Greenway, Charlie Coyle. I think he's sort of running out of time to be. I mean, he's 26 now. I've always liked him. I've always thought he was good. But this year, I would say he's having a bad year to only have 16 points in 35 games. And former first-round pick of the Sharks, they got him in the Burns trade. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how he does. Dubnyk's playing pretty good, 913 save percentage. So we'll see how they do. Maybe they make the playoffs, maybe they don't. But that Dumba injury is certainly going to hurt. All right, now we are rounding home. Only a few teams to go. Another disappointing season for Arizona, only 34 points. That Domi trade has completely backfired. What are your thoughts on the Coyotes?
Well, Rance is out for the rest of the season, so you are relying on Aiden Hill
And
out
Kemper.
of everybody to carry in the playoffs. I think you should give Kemper a shot. And didn't they claim Pickard off waivers, and they haven't even played him yet? Like, what's the point of claiming the goalie off waivers, and you haven't played him yet? Like, it's dumb. Like, what's Trika trying to do here? Or better yet, what's Rick Tocchet trying to do here? Right. Play Pickard. Like, sure, he's been disappointed the last couple of years, but if he finds out his old Colorado self, like his 15, 16 self, hey, maybe he can help the Coyotes get a few more wins, and maybe that can put them back on track. But also you have to realize that, they play the same number of games as, like, Edmonton, everybody, but they're still 5 points out. I doubt they go on a huge run, but I think they can push maybe for a wildcard spot. I think Keller needs to play well. Galchenyuk needs to be way better. Schmaltz has been playing really well in Arizona. Same thing with Strome in Chicago. But honestly, it seems like every year the Coyotes have been picked to be a dark horse to make the playoffs, and he left them again.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to hope for Hughes because I think the Domi trade was just, inexcusable how bad of a trade that was. He would be their leading point getter by 9 points, and Ekman-Larsson has been okay. He should have more than 4 goals. Dylan Strome went with, I think Marner was available when they picked Strome.
Yeah.
That was bad. 6 points. It seems like both the Stromes have been busts. Really sucks for Coyotes fans, but the good news is they might get Hughes, so we'll see how that goes.
And if they do get Hughes, that'll be huge.
Yeah, I even though they're in the Western Conference, I do hope they get Jack Hughes. And
I was one of those guys that was cheering for the Coyotes to actually get Austin Matthews.
Me too.
Kind of makes sense, but I think Arizona needs a break like this.
Yeah, and I just want to briefly mention now that we're on Arizona, the division realignment was so dumb. I had a perfect plan to do it. Here's what it would have been. I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but it's Edmonton and Calgary get moved to the Central because they're the first. Colorado to the Pacific. I think that would have been the best. I think that would have been by far the best because they're already pretty close to the Central. They're losing the rivalry with Vancouver, but they're gaining a new one with Winnipeg, and Vancouver gets Seattle, so they don't really care. Okay, and then Arizona, the distance between Arizona and Las Vegas and the 2 Southern California teams is tiny. It would have been, it's ridiculous. Now the closest team to them is Colorado, which is further than Vegas, Anaheim, or LA, I think. It's just, I think, I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. But still, and other than them, then the closest is Dallas. It doesn't make any sense travel-wise, and, I think that's a bad
Now everybody's thinking that in 2021 they're going to become the Houston Coyotes. Trust me, we're not going to see relocation ever again, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they shouldn't.
Devin is not the type to relocate teams. Like, he's only done it twice, and guess what? Both teams were Atlanta. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, one was Atlanta. For Astros, I think one was Hartford was the other one, but yeah.
Yeah, Hartford.
Yeah. And he might have done the Nordiques, and no, he did 4 because he did the Nordiques and then the Coyotes too. I think that was.
Oh yeah, the old one.
Yeah. So.
But there's a reason. But the thing is, the reason why they were okay Winnipeg and Quebec is because of the Canadian dollar.
Yeah.
He had no choice to move them.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah. Winnipeg is.
realized.
Yeah, I wanna. I know this is getting long, but I wanna say, I'm sick of hearing these Quebec City people. I mean, Quebec does not deserve a team. It's too small. I mean, the size here. When you look, first of all, when you look up population, search metro area because that includes suburbs. Metro area for Quebec City is tiny. I mean, the NHL says it's one of the major sports leagues, but a major sports league does not have a team in a city whose metro population is 800,000. It just doesn't, especially with the Canadian dollar being weak again. Quebec does not deserve a team just because they built a new arena. So that's my mini rant, and I don't think any team should move because the only reason that the southern teams in the U.S. have bad attendance is because they're bad. I mean, look at Nashville. Nashville had bad attendance until they're good. Now they have a great crowd, because no one wants to pay tickets for a bad team. But anyway, that's my little rant. Arizona's not moving, but
they are close, but the owner is close to selling it to some other owner that wants to build a new arena in Arizona. So
yeah,
just stay tuned.
We'll see how that goes. Now, excuse me. We're gonna get to the St. Louis Blues. Only 32 points. This is a surprise. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, if you didn't hear that, St. Louis is hosting the 2020 All-Star Game.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in the end.
Which makes sense because they renovated their arena. So
yeah, we'll talk about some news on that in the end. But here, what about the Blues now?
You added O'Reilly, you added Bozak, Maroon, all those guys, and guess what? They're still lackluster. Tarasenko has been garbage. And I think the reason why they've been bad is, guess what? Jake Allen. We talked about this in the summer, Danny, if you don't remember, right?
I do remember, yeah.
Right. I think it was the first episode, and we're saying that if St. Louis has to be good, Jake Allen needs to be great, and guess what? He has it. That they brought in Chad Johnson. Guess what? He got put on waivers. He's in Anaheim now. I don't know if they're back anymore.
Yeah. Backup is Chad Johnson again, because he must have cleared waivers or something, or maybe it's Jordan Binghamton or something.
Yeah, it's Jordan Binghamton.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's not O'Reilly's fault they're bad. He actually leads them in points with 32. He's having a pretty decent year. Tarasenko, I'm looking up his contract right now actually, just to be able to compare. He is getting paid $7.5 million. He has 22 points. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And Jaden Schwartz was supposed to be better. He only has 14 points. I mean, it's just disappointing. And Jake Allen, of course, on 900 save percentage, over 3 goals allowed average. So yeah, the Blues are not having a good year, and it just is sad for them. And I think I'm checking right now. Does Buffalo have their pick for the first round?
It's top 10 protected.
So, well, it's good thing that it's top 10 protected because it's going to be a top 10 pick. I'm going out on a limb here and saying it's going to be a top 10 pick because, yeah, if it's a top 10, they have the option to keep it, but then they have to give them the 2020. So if it's top 10, they better improve next year or else Buffalo gets it. So yeah, Blues might end up getting Jack Hughes, which could be good for them, but they're having a really disappointing year after they were hoping for cup contention, and I think while Tarasenko has been disappointing, I think goaltending is the root of the problem. And
honestly,
now,
I don't think St. Louis deserves Hughes.
What?
I don't really think St. Louis really deserves Hughes.
Yeah, but that's how lottery works, so we'll see. Now,
and then this team.
With 2 teams left, we're going to Chicago. What do you think about the Hawks?
Well, Crawford's got a concussion.
His career could be over.
I think his career's over, which sucks for the Hawks. You gotta feel bad for Crawford. Honestly, he's made the Hawks into a dynasty. I think his 15-16 season could have been better. I think he's one of the reasons why the Hawks win Game 7 against the Blues. I think after that National Series, something happened and vertical hit, which sucks. And honestly, they had no other goaltenders, no great goaltending prospects. Not just Cam Ward. No, I don't really trust Anton Forsberg or Colin Delia. Like, you have no one else. And guess what? You have bad contracts. Seabrook, Taste can be considered bad contract. You traded Artemi Panarin for Brandon Saar, who's been nothing but mediocrity with Chicago. The only bright spot still of this team is Patrick Kane. And Henry Goldhar has been playing pretty well too. But I think adding Strome with the brain cat was a great move. But other than that, this team is still going to be a lottery team for the next couple of years, I think.
Yeah, I gotta agree about Kane. He's having a great year, sort of underrated considering how bad the team is doing. But yeah, Ward is playing badly, and 886 goal save percentage, 390 goals allowed average. That's not good, okay? And he's their starter. It's sad because Crawford is one of the greatest goalies in that team's history, but he may never play again. And I think if they're smart, even if he feels better and if he's cleared, I think they just got to shut him down for the season. Let his head just fully recover. This year does not matter. If they get... It would be so unfair if they get Hughes, though, because they need to be bad. They were so good. If they get Hughes, that would just be unfair. But if they get any of the lottery picks...
Well, if they even get, the top three, it's
come on.
People are... It's kind of rigged because look how great they've been. Then one bad year, or guess what? We got probably... Most people are saying kind of getting confused. I think he's more Austin Matthews, but you guys get Jack Hughes. If I'm okay, I'm okay with LA getting Hughes, not really St. Louis, but Chicago gets more Kako, Cousins, or Hughes. Honestly, I'm confident that his head, and that's the thing why I don't really like this top three teams get a pick. Just go back to the old system where there's one lottery for the first overall pick, and you guys can thank Edmonton for that. So
I like the one lottery for first overall pick, but I do like that any team who misses the playoffs can win it. But yeah, no, I hope Chicago doesn't get it. That would just suck. But they might. You never.
Sorry, you can go.
They might. You never know. What are you saying? I was just gonna. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, because the reason I don't like that because somehow it's probably never gonna happen. Because we've seen a lot of teams jumping out 12 spots, getting the second overall pick. Say Edmonton, they just barely missed the playoffs. They get Jack Hughes, right?
Yeah, but I think they do it well because it's just low chances, and it just sort of helps avoid tanking. Because I think the main thing is if you finish last, there's still less than 50% chance of getting the top prospect. It's tanking isn't bad as long as you're not really trying. But if there was a generational talent like a McDavid, you don't want teams just trading off their best players just so they know they can get him.
Yeah.
So who knows? We'll see what happens. Finally, LA. I think the main story about LA? What happened to Kopitar?
How many points does he have this year?
He leads the team, but only 23. After what he did last year, where he was a Hart nominee, this is pretty disappointing.
Well, I think Kovalchuk will lead the team at some point, but holy LA, I have no words because I saw that team against Vegas. And I'm saying it right now, Jonathan Quick stood on his head in that series.
Yeah.
I think Jonathan Quick absolutely. Honestly, I think they owed Quick because he's the reason why. Sure, you guys got stuff, but look at Quick's stats. I think this year he's been bad. I know Philly's been interested in him, but I don't know what's going on. It's that core. They're too old. Doughty. After this year, for 8 years, you're paying him $11 million. That's Tavares money, and guess what? I'm pretty sure he's never cracked 60 points ever. I think he's barely cracked 50 a couple times, right? So Doughty isn't really playing as well as he should be. There's Carter's not playing well, but Toffoli has been bad. Then, like you said, Kopitar's been bad. He wasted around $6 million on Kovalchuk. Like, you need to sell off those pieces. You need to get rid of quick because I feel like Cal Peterson, who's their goalie for quite some time, did well. I feel like he should be their goalie going forward. I think you need to sell Martinez. I think you should trade Muzzin. I like Forbert. You can keep him. Get rid of that Fanault contract. I think Kopitar and Doughty are here to stay, though, because they're probably going to be Kings for life. So, you have Dustin Brown, like, holy, Rob Blake is going to have a hard time this offseason. And I emailed Jack Hughes. This doesn't fix anything, I feel like.
I don't know. I think I think they do need to make significant changes. I don't know what the changes will be exactly. I think Doughty, that contract, they had to either give him that contract or he walked for nothing. So if they trade him, at least they'll get assets back. But we don't know. We'll see. Not quite sure if they'll be able to bounce back next year, but I don't think it's looking good for them. And the core is aging. We will see. But we did it. We went through all 31 NHL teams. One of our longest podcasts ever. So I'm quickly going to... I think we can pretty much skip the World Juniors just because it just started. And I honestly don't know anything about those teams. I'm excited to watch Chmelevski, the Californian Russian, who's a Sharks prospect. But, I don't know enough about it to really analyze it.
Let's just say that Canada had a fun time last night.
Yeah, wow. I couldn't tell if it was football or hockey, really, 14-0. But it's going to be interesting. I'm going to watch some games tonight. But we'll see what happens there. And like Shade mentioned a bit earlier, some news came out. 2020 All-Star Game in St. Louis, 2020 Draft in Winnipeg. This All-Star Game, as Shaden said, it makes sense. Bettman pretty much promised it to St. Louis after they're paying $60 million to renovate that arena. So if you do a major renovation like that, you're going to get an All-Star Game. So not too surprising that they're getting one. Edmonton will probably get one. I would guess 2021, just as soon as the Ice District is finished, that's what Bettman said.
The Ice District is supposed to be done around summer 2020. So I can honestly see the All-Star Game in 2021 because Bettman said that once Ice District is done, the All-Star Game will be there. And he said that he wants to hold the draft soon too. So I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if the draft and All-Star Game are pretty close together. And also, you have to keep in mind, because Edmonton's also hosting the World Juniors in 2021.
Yeah, so they might... I would guess then, if that's the case, it's going to be draft in 21 with the World Juniors, and the All-Star Game would be the next year, just because they wouldn't want to share the All-Star Game with World Juniors, because people are already spending their money. But, I really wanted an All-Star Game in San Jose until we got one. And then it's just sort of like, they're price gouging on the ticket prices. I'm not going to go. I'd way rather see a regular game. I wanted to go, but at the prices they're charging, it's just ridiculous. Okay? I could go to a playoff game for that price. So why would I go to an All-Star game? And I would go to FanFest, but it sort of seems weird. Why would I go to the FanFest if I'm not going to the All-Star game? So it's just sort of it'll be nice to have them sort of recognize San Jose, but I think they'll realize very quickly there's nothing to do. I mean, other than it's one of the biggest cities in the U.S. in the top 10 list, but it's pretty much entirely suburbs. So you'll go and they'll have the FanFest, but just a tip, if anyone is planning on visiting for the All-Star Game, stay in San Francisco, even though it's an hour and a half drive to San Jose from San Francisco. You'll have a lot more fun. There's a lot more things to do there. But that's just my hot take on that. And that's also the end of the podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like the video. Check out Shaden's Instagram and my Instagram in the description for more updates on hockey. And anything you want to say to finish it up, or we good?
If there's any last second news, so I'm probably going to put it right now. But
yeah, I'm looking. Doesn't look like it. Russia won their game against Denmark 4-0, and that's all I see. Yeah. So all right, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you, or I will talk to you in the next podcast. Bye.